Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, kind of giving you a preview of upcoming attractions on the channel over the next few days here on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. Yes, 1987. We went earlier in the year and we did a classic Nitros take on the 1987 Great American Bash. It's up on the channel, go back for the back history. So I figured, let's take a look at the, other kind of major happenings of 87, especially around this time period. The infamous Battle of Thanksgiving of 1987 between Jim Crockett Promotions and their Starrcade 1987 pay-per-view Chi-Town Heat, and the same day, about the same time, give or take a few hours, the inaugural WWF Survivor Series. So of course this series is kind of inspired by the Between the Sheets Patreon specials that both Chris Zillner and David Bixenspan released last year, and there's actually a great free hour podcast that's available on their Patreon, and it only costs about $5 a month to subscribe to their Patreon, so go check it out. Kind of detailing this more in depth from front to back. But what I'm going to do is take a look at both shows through a 2020 set of eyes, kind of like how I do my pay-per-view recaps and so on and so forth on the channel, and basically tell you, hey, what I like and what I didn't like from both shows. We're going to start with the Starrcade 87 card, Chi-Town Heat from the UIC Pavilion in Chicago, Illinois, and we're going to go match by match and other interesting happenings that happened during the card. That event is available on the WWE Network, as well as Survivor Series 1987 from the Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio, just outside of Cleveland again. Now for the background information. Starrcade 87 wasn't allowed to be marketed on most cable systems due to a WWF threat that if this event was packaged as part of a doubleheader with Survivor Series 87, that those cable systems would not be cleared to show WrestleMania. Okay, with the backstory of that, WrestleMania 3 was such a huge draw on pay-per-view. It was one of the biggest draws of the 1980s up to that point on pay-per-view, and I think one of the biggest events drawn since 1982 or 1983. Boxing had drawn the huge numbers prior to this, but WrestleMania 3 was the biggest wrestling pay-per-view draw. People wanted to see Hogan and Andre go head-to-head. So fast forward a few months, and WWF decides to run opposition the same night as NWA's pay-per-view for Starrcade. Now, this is one of the first pay-per-views that the NWA had done on what they hoped to be a national schedule under the guise of the Wrestling Network. This was the amalgamation of the television properties and production talents that Jim Crockett had put together with the merger of Crockett Promotions and the UWF, Bill Watts Mid-South Wrestling, basically. And the broadcast talents and everything of those two monster programs, and they were two of the better produced programs of their time for pro wrestling, would basically culminate in this Starrcade 87 Thanksgiving night supercard. So of course WrestleMania 3 back in March set all the all-time records for wrestling pay-per-view at this time, and all that was set on the WWF side was basically, hey, we're going to do a second pay-per-view. This was during the summer and that stuff, so about the same time as the Great American Bash was going on the NWA side. All that was said at the time was a date for Mania 4, which ended up being March 27, 1988, and later on the build that, hey, in some way or some form, we're going to have a Hogan-Andre rematch in whatever capacity. Now, of course, the tournament wasn't devised yet, and blah, 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 blah. Like we're saying, we're talking fall of 87 here, so. But anyway, Crockett's group names Starrcade 87, the date, November 26, 1987, names the location, blah, 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 blah. And then immediately WWE says, well, WWF at the time says, oh, well, wait a second, we're running opposition in Chicago that night, as they often did with major cards in the same company or same vicinity. We're going to upgrade that to a pay-per-view, so we'll get a pay-per-view out of it. We're going to develop a brand new concept for the pay-per-view, which ended up being the Survivor Series concept. And on top of that, we're going to go out to the cable companies and say, you guys are tempted to offer this as kind of a wrestling doubleheader for Thanksgiving. If you do that, your cable company will be banned from showing WrestleMania. We do not want any part of you showing or broadcasting WrestleMania 4. So if you show Starrcade, that's it, pal. You're gone. Should also mention that a lot of cable systems at the time, after the events of Thanksgiving '87, came to both JCP and WWF and said, if you guys do that again, we're just going to boot both of your shows off of the pay-per-view and we're not going to carry them anymore. So for the love of God, we know that your brand of entertainment is very popular and we want to cut it of money as well. Just run different nights, please, for our safety, for our sanctity, and for just a better overall product all the way around for what we can offer. Just run different nights. It's basically a practice that still runs true to this day, but let's face it, you don't want to run heads up against a WWE pay-per-view, i.e. all these super shows that run during Mania weekend. You never see anything run parallel to the WrestleMania event, because even though that would be, a small independent promotion versus the big, huge WWE at that point, it's basically also suicide, and this is kind of the catalyst to that. So it is very interesting, and I'm looking forward to covering this with everybody. So stay tuned to the channel, Nitromaniac TV here, tinyurl.com/Nitromaniac TV. You can follow me on Twitter at KellenNitro. You can follow me on Instagram as well at KellenNitro. And so, yeah, getting ready to do a little bit of storytelling here, folks. So stay tuned, and I do hope you jump along with this journey, because it's going to be a lot of fun over the next few days or so. All right, later days, happy wrestling watching. We'll see you next time on the Classic Nitro's Take series, where we go into the first leg of this, the event that aired first on November 26, 1987, NWA Starrcade 1987 Chi-Town Heat, the Classic Nitro's Take of that event. Go check it out on the network and get your notes ready and that stuff, because I took a lot of them, so we'll see what happens. All right, folks, see ya.